Today, what you and I are going to do is we are going to look at proof that Onision is over. Now, what this will include, of course, is an examination of numbers, an examination of popularity over time and his waning influence within it, the fact that a channel with 1.56 million subscribers not only pulls the numbers that you see below, but those numbers, they are actually contingent on people like the guy in front of you, a guy with a fraction of the subscribers that he has, and that hasn't talked about him in a while now. We will also look at the fact that Onision has attempted to obfuscate this by deleting videos. You can actually see that in the red indicated on this chart. And last but certainly not least, we are going to be talking about the presence of bananas. Wait, no, Onision, we're not talking about the presence of bananas. We're talking about law enforcement. Why? Oh, I think you know why, buddy. I think you know why indeed. So hey there. So today we are returning to that wonderful World of Onision coverage. And the reason for this is simple. I made a video the other day talking about a certain influencer moving on, and some people didn't seem to understand how this was a problem for Onision. See, for some folks out there, this is an all or nothing measure that either ends with someone behind bars or this is abject failure. While I do understand that, I would direct you to statements like that in front of you, wherein I've highlighted a certain portion to say that the police, they are not only looking into this, but while they're looking into this, this is meant to put an end to all of those things that have been talked about as far as Onision is concerned. See, for a person like myself, the outcome isn't vindictive. I don't know Onision. He's just another YouTuber. What I do have a problem with are all the alleged accounts that are out there, the things that I have actually seen videotaped by the person. I want that stuff to end, and this way it definitely does. That's why I covered things like the shuttering of Patreon, because this person, they were seeing a resurgence, and if discussions on the past are any indicator about what this person will do with influence, well, all you have to do is look back to Onision.xyz. All you have to do is look back on controversy about body positivity and on to say maybe the problem isn't just the person. The problem is the person wielding any type of influence over people that are susceptible to it. See, that's why I think an examination of numbers from sites like Social Blade are important, because it showcases a waning influence. You can see that in the numbers in front of you, where this person averages daily 21,000 hits, again, with a channel with over 1.5 million subscribers. Now, to put those numbers into perspective, here's a channel like mine. And when I talk about this, I don't mean this with any ego involved. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I have a 62,000 sub channel. It's not a huge one by any stretch of the imagination. And also, it's very niche. I cover exactly what I want to cover, and I'm happy with that. When you look at that, though, you'll notice that the daily numbers on this channel, they pull up 3 times what Onision pulls, and that considering the amount of influence being wielded with him, again, at 1.5 million subs, me at 61,000. That says that he has a huge problem. Everything about him is dropping off. Now, what you have to understand about someone like Onision is it doesn't matter if it's negative or positive. What it matters is that he has some type of influence to wield. To have that, of course, there has to be interest. And you can see this in charts like the one in front of you. This is worldwide interest over time. It looks at the past 12 months, and it looks at that through Google Trends in web searches. Now, if you look at where Onision starts out in those past 12 months, you'll see that he's at a 7. Now, this pretty much drops down to almost non-existent. People, they just don't care about this guy anymore. And then you start noticing some discussion, and then, bam, the interviews, they start coming in, and then you notice him climb to a certain peak. Now, that falls off. More interviews come in. But if you look at where he is currently, he's almost dropped off yet again. He's at a 17, with some of that dropping down to an 11. He's about where he was a year ago. And again, within that, he was wielding little to no influence. So you can truly drive this point home by looking at his channel a year ago. I mean, if you look at the numbers within it, he may have a 30,000 video that pops up here and there. But if you look at the consistent numbers, what he's getting here are small channel numbers. You know, again, channels that go out like myself, they cover niche topics. He's getting that kind of a notoriety. He's not getting the notoriety that you would expect from a channel that it's his size. In fact, this kind of stuff, it is indicative of a channel that is not on decline, but it has already hit rock bottom. See, the thing that you have to remember with Onision is that negative coverage has existed for quite some time now. You can go out, you can look up articles on him. Granted, they are not mainstream articles, but his name had always been out there with negativity. Still, he was not gaining any type of influence. Then along comes renewed interest in a name that many people know, Chris Hansen. And that renewed interest, it brings with it 1 million hits for that name, 1.8 million hits for that name. These are numbers off of live streams too. To say that that is popular, I mean, that is an understatement and a half. This notoriety, it continues for months as well. I mean, you can see 800,000 hits. You can see this ebb off somewhat, but there's renewed interest yet again when Chris Hansen ends up having 911 called on him because he goes to Onision's home. And through that, again, if you look all the way into a month ago, you have him still talking about this subject. Now, during those months, you see a renewed interest in Onision as well. I mean, you see hundreds of thousands of hits coming in, then you see that go up. And then when Chris Hansen gets into the conversation, you're looking at 500,000 hits, 400,000 hits, 1.3 million hits. This is a channel, again, that just a year ago was pulling 16,000 hits, and now suddenly it has all of these eyes on it yet again. And this guy, again, he's making up things. He's doing anything he can to stay in the public eye. Like I've said before, you can see this renewed interest somewhere like Patreon, where the numbers, they start to go up. The problem with Onision here is he thinks in the immediate. He doesn't think about long-term ramifications, and he doesn't see a day when all of this will end. And this, it definitely does end. You can see the day that Patreon ends, and that it mirrors all types of other things out there. See, the problem with attention itself, but especially negative attention, is oftentimes fleeting. I mean, you can see that in the numbers here as they drop down to what you saw a year ago. And you have to ask with something like this, what exactly is left behind? I mean, what does this guy have now? See, a person like Onision, they get gratification from any type of headline. But when you look at these headlines, they're not Tosh.0 headlines. We're not talking about attention because you were dressed in a banana suit. And if this is all that you have left after all of that, what exactly do you think that that's going to bring to bear? Do you think there's going to be another Onision XYZ? Do you think you can go out and actually get any type of attention that you want? See, what's especially disconcerting for someone like Onision are the law enforcement conversations. And you can tell that from some of his actions that are actually recorded. See, I did a video talking about Onision's reaction to this interview here, wherein a law enforcement officer, he talks about Onision in detail, discussing all of the things that are happening within an investigation. And Onision, he tries to cause him problems with internal affairs. See, while some would say, hey, this is just him trying to salvage his name, I would offer this up in return. This is a report where CPS comes to Onision's home, and you'll notice something in here that showcases paranoia because he is walking that negativity, that proverbial razor's edge, and that stuff, he knows that it's a problem for for him. You can see him. He takes a video of himself calling 911 during the issues that happened with his child. He has done this multiple times before because he knows exactly what type of ramification this can have. Now, additionally, you can see proof that Onision is removing material. And we're not talking about small material. I'll remove a live stream here and there for sure, but he is removing hundreds of thousands of clicks. Why? Because either he is just left with negative attention, he doesn't want that video around, or he's trying to trick the algorithm into thinking that there's something here, that there's something that he's left with, and that's a sign that you're not left with very much at all. So sure, he has the bygone days of yore when Mr. Banana could roam and roam free. He also has the resurgence with Chris Hansen, wherein he saw some type of quote-unquote popularity. That, however, it doesn't leave him with influence. It's not leaving him with a paycheck, and it's left him with law enforcement looking right at him, so he can't do much at all. So you tell me, when I talk about this stuff, isn't Onision over? Because if he isn't over, well, I don't know how much farther you can fall besides going to jail. I mean, that is definitely falling further. So ending this, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for showing up. You make endeavors possible. I also want to thank you for allowing me to explore this subject, because this subject, I find it fascinating because it happened right here in the public eye, and the platforms, other folks, they didn't seem to blink. I mean, you had people that did, but by and large, all of this stuff was out there, and yet it was enabled. Now, I don't want to monopolize your time further. I do want to thank you for it, and I want to say, if you want to subscribe to the channel, share this stuff, it definitely helps. You don't have to, however. You being here, that matters. I want to thank you for it. So anyway, closing this out, again, thank you. Appreciate you. We'll be doing this again soon. Thanks.